Absolutely.
She was one of our clients that started with us. She's going to talk a bit about her journey, and then she became one of our health champions there as well.
Okay. Hi, I'm Noor. Starting point, this was my GP. Dr. Hart know me as a very panicky mom. Always, even if a sneeze happened to my child, I used to call and bring the child over, and I used to see my kids over and over again. And how I went to ShipShape, Dr. Barbara, she's based here as well, and she mentioned once to me, and she said, "No, you should go and join a ShipShape." And now it's 2009, I'm saying, and it's just in my mind somewhere down the line I have to go ShipShape. I never been because I was very completely just in the housewife condition with my in-laws and with my kids and my husband. And once I just went to Sharrow school to drop my kids, and they said, "Go upstairs, it's in the assembly room, it's some community workers there." And it was like I entered the door like that, and I walked across, been to every desk, and on the end it was Tanya. And I just seen the name ShipShape, and I just remember Dr. Barbara mentioned me back in, where I met Tanya was 2013 now. So from 2009 till 2013, I never visited ShipShape. I just said, no, I can't drive, it's far from me, and this and that, making excuses. So I just started talking to her, and she said, why not come and visit me on Wednesday open days, because with the one pregnancy I had the diabetes, and so I just took, because I have to go for regular checkups now. I don't have diabetes, but my husband suffered with a very high level of diabetes. So I started going on Wednesday groups. I got my health trainer working with me, Samaya Masood, and then she told me how to control the diet, because I have to, doctor said to me, to reduce the weight down here, otherwise I will more risk to have diabetes. So I started losing the weight, and just keep on coming. So one day Tanya said to me, you fancy coming health champion? And I said, no. I don't want to. Not confident enough, language barrier, wasn't speak like this before. Never been to any group discussions, never been to see my own client, what I'm going to do. So she said, it's no pressure. What you want to do is just you have to go for an educational program and with the diabetes. And I said, all right, that's fine. Then I become a health champion, community health champion. Gone on to learn how important the eye screening is. Done that introduction course. From there, I decided to become mental health champion. I run my own group at St. Peter with the community where people are not coming from the house, like me basically, just staying home. So we got a really good response from there, and then after that I skipped with Phil, become PEY health champion, done the training from pregnancy 8 years, done work with AME, joined ICDH, healthy lifestyles, stopped smoking. Just it's word never stop. I just taking steps one by one. So done lots of courses basically. I done achieved a lot, and where then I decided to open, because I know something about beauty. It just came from back home with me. So I said to Tanya, can I just have a small group in ShipShape where I can, it's, you know, like if the person look good as well, they feel better as well. Sometimes that works. when the people living with the depression back home, suffering with anxiety, they look at themselves, they look really down and dull. So she said, okay, that's fine. So I make my own pampering events every month once, and then go on with every week. So it's like just bringing women, and with the chronic pain, we help with the massage. We help to just maintain their self basically, and have their own time, come and relax. And then I start taking trips, shopping trips, seaside trips with the families, and that's like you said, do it. And that was basically, I done it. It's nowhere I'm having from somewhere funded. It's my own money. I put it there, and that's it. And I just done it. So it was trips, very famous these days. It's a monkey business event. So that's just basically not funded at all. So we receive like over 200 people to just come, and where people have 4, 5, 6 kids and they can't afford to take kids to play centers, they're costly. So where we can very low down the price, where people can afford, big families can come over and relax. So we arrange this event every 3-4 months. Later we throw that event for a family gathering basically. So that is type of do it as well. So no thinking, nothing. Just I said to her, can I do it? And bless her, she's always said to me, okay, do it. Do it. If you want to do it, so do it. So, and now we start doing some other events, like summer fairs, and I have lots of things in my mind. And sometimes my health condition don't let me do it. So I've been suffering with illness past 2 years. That's obviously I left this GP and I was panicking a lot because I moved the house. And I remember I spoke to Dr. Howard and I said, which surgery shall I go for? And he told me to Rockingham one, and I said, okay. So find the GP, but it's like there I am basically from back home. No well educated, I just done GCSEs, got married in very early age, husband very severely mental illness, diabetes, in-laws, kids, and still I am doing this also. I think people can do it if they put a bit of efforts. And I think if you receive someone like this, Tanya, where she never, today as well, I think if I am how I'm standing here because of her, basically, honestly speaking. Honestly, because she never stopped me and she always encouraged me, okay, do it, just do it, if you want to do it and you have the ability to do it. So just be yourself, and that's all. That's it. That's my
Did you say you were worried about standing up and talking in front of you?
Not now.
No, that's fantastic.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
I know we've talked a lot about sort of just do it, which is the way that we sort of do that with sort of within sort of community development. But I think there's a lot of work, like Ros said, there's a lot of work that goes behind it, and that's where we go the extra way. So, we don't hold the books by 9 to 5 jobs sort of thing. We do actually go out that way, and if it works for sort of having that community health champions model that was supporting that, a lot of this would have
Yeah. Well, I just reinforce all the time about how incredibly fortunate we are at this practice to have ShipShape and these sort of services we can refer patients into, because it just works, doesn't it, really well. I was going to say just a couple of things about what our practice is doing, but I'm going to say 2 things very, very quickly. About what we do here that kind of is the other side of the coin. So, as a GP practice, we're starting to try and think differently about how we manage people. We push people towards ShipShape and so on. but we do an annual review every year for all our 600 diabetics. So we've done two major changes. One thing is we've said we will give you your blood results before you come and see us, with an explanation about what they're about, so that when you come and see us, you've got your blood results, and you can actually sort of like start to think about them, and you can ask us questions. And that's been really interesting, because it's a real shame, one of the nurses who really led this has just left our practice, so the time I was away, she's gone, and that was a real shame, because I had her all lined up to come here and talk about it. But she said to me that to start off with, people don't know what to do with them. People are going, this is for you. They came to me by mistake, this is for you. And we've been doing it for over a year now. People are now coming round and they're getting them for the second time. And the second time they get them, they know they're for them. And that has really made a big difference in our patients. And the other thing that we're doing, so that's probably for empowering the patients, but the other thing we're doing, sort of for us, but also to empower the patients. I don't know if you've I'll pass these round to have a look. So, many of you will be familiar with this. This is called the PAM, Patient Activation Measure. So we at the same time as we're collecting the blood results before the consultation, we're collecting a PAM, a Patient Activation Measure. And this is a way, it's a way, it's not the only way, of course, do you know what I mean? It's a reasonably succinct way of trying to ask someone a group of questions that helps to categorise them to a degree as to how skillful and knowledgeable and confident they are to get involved in self-management. And the reason why we think that's really important is because then we do things differently. As our team seeing people, we then effectively know, are they a complete beginner, are they kind of like an intermediate, or are they an expert? And apologies to people who've heard me say this before, but it's a bit like if you learn to do a salsa dance, isn't it? You know, if you're a beginner, you don't want to end up in an expert's class, and if you're an expert, you don't want to go to beginner's class. It just mismatches. So actually, we start to say, this is really important, helping you to self-manage, getting you to places like ShipShape, getting, if you're going to do it yourself, getting you online, doing all these sort of things. It's really, really important, and we value it so much that actually we're going to measure where you are and we're going to support you appropriately. So that's what we've been doing. We've now, since March, has been our system. We've done 300 reviews like that now. And I'm sorry that I haven't got nurses here to talk about how it's changing, but the report that I've been talking to them, they've sort of said the same with the blood results. To start off with, people don't really get it. I mean, there's a little bit of resistance. We've been doing it for 6 months, but I'm really confident that in another year's time, when people start to get it, start to realise what's going on, people like Martin keep sort of like talking, in national meetings, and people like us continue to sort of like develop and grow this need for people to be leading their own care, involved in it, shape things around it. People start to get it, and so that's what we're doing. So I just want to just put that out there, and we've potentially got tea now. We could just spend a few minutes just sort of talking a little bit about ourselves, about diabetes stuff, or we could come back to it after tea. What would you like to do?
I'd just like to make a little comment about what Noura said, if that's
okay.
okay.
Of course, yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting that Noura is now, I mean, we talked earlier about how getting kind of healthy messages out isn't necessarily about them coming from health professionals. The fact that you're doing beauty-related things, and yet you're still helping within those, whenever you're, I don't know, doing somebody's eyebrows or hair or whatever it is, the messages that you're giving are about healthy health beliefs, positive, helpful health beliefs. And that's why I think what you're doing is so important, and why we need so much more of that, really.
Absolutely.
So on that point, how do we measure it?
One of the ways is patient activation measure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if your patient activation measure had been measured in the beginning, I don't know whether it was, but I bet it moved.
Yeah.
It must have done.
Hugely.
You see, there's a huge impact on the service, even though we're not measuring that now, because from a psychological point of view, you're providing a service. You are, and you're actually helping the health service, but no one actually is quantifying that.
No.
Absolutely.
So it's
And that's why I quite like this, because actually we've been doing this intangible stuff for so long.
Yes.
I mean, it's not been given any value because
Yeah.
you can't measure it, you can't capture it, you can't say, do you know what, we've gone from 40% to 60%, and actually we can. The thing about the PAM is it has been with a lot of evidence-based behind, it's been tied into economic savings and health improvement. So it's a really good surrogate marker that we are doing something. You know, so the sort of stuff Elaine's been doing for years is probably changing people's activation. You know.
I just wanted to add to what you were saying as well. I do the digital surgery in the surgery here. So I get lots of people who come in, but I also do a big Asian women's group. And the stuff about doing things around beauty, the trip stuff as well. If you're stuck at home with 7 kids or something like that, it's very, very difficult. One lady once said to me, "You don't know what difference it makes to my life going on a trip." You know, I very rarely get out to do these things, and she said, you know, life is so difficult. And just sometimes it is difficult to measure those things. But I think if you're doing them, you know when you're doing them that they are making a difference. I suppose we do try to capture some of these things, which it is quite difficult sometimes to sort of capture those
Can
things.
I just add into Noor's story as well? Noor is really, really hardworking in our organisation. She's helping everybody, and again, who's measuring all these? There is no data about what she did, what she achieved. But the trips she's taking, the women who are hard to reach, busy with the family life, she's taking to the seaside trips, doing monkey business. All these things are incredible, and there should be somewhere where we can have these data and how these just very common people are helping to the health service, isn't it?
Is that about social value though and social impact? Do they get written to you? You know, I went to an event last week where it was all about how you write social value into procurement cycles and stuff like that. When we measure an impact, we don't necessarily measure like inclusions of social value in it. You know, being fully inclusive. You know, what you spoke about there was fully inclusive. And
How can we capture that, Scott? Have you got ideas about how to capture that?
anecdotal evidence. You know, go down there with a photo booth, or you know, start capturing the bits like this. That you know, the stories, the experience-based design stuff, rather than the ones and zeros or pounds and pence. You know, the processes, they're valid when you're going for money, but to actually speak to people, you know, you need people to speak to people, not, you know, no disrespect to people who do presentations, but you know, if you all stood there in a room full of commissioners with a presentation with data and analysis on, I would put money on probably half the people in the room falling asleep by the end of the day. If you've got somebody up there saying, oh, you know what, this is what happens when I go into Noor's group, you know, this is what happens when I go home, you know, that smacks me around the head, you know, that smacks me around the head.
And it's not just Noor, it's like Noel's husband plays football on Thursday
exactly,
night with his
No,
Noel's kids.
many other health champions, many other volunteers at the organisation.
I know Rosalind's coming. I'm going to go for Amir and then Ros. Yeah. Amir.
In another role, I sound like a committee man, don't I? In another role I have, I'm the chair of the dementia-friendly communities in Greater Manchester, and what struck me when I was listening to Noor was that she's doing something in the community, but in a similar kind of way. We're now beginning to realise that so many people have got dementia and they're in the communities, and we can't just lock them up and put them in care homes and things. We've got to invert it. And so there's this idea of dementia-friendly communities that I think Alzheimer's Association have started up. And there are some pilots. I don't know if there's any pilots in this area, but we've got 3 or 4 pilots in the Greater Manchester area. And it's very much things like that. Typically, the kind of stories I can share with you. So, you know, you've got someone who's becoming forgetful, turns up at Tesco's, for instance, picks something up, walks out, the security man pulls him up, the next thing you have is a police car turn up with blue lights and everything, and he doesn't know what he's doing, he's getting confused, he's starting to get very frightened. They have no choice but to put handcuffs around him, put him in a van, take him to a police station because they've got no information about who he is, and of course, you know, he's very embarrassed, and etc. etc. The parallel between, and the answer, by the way, is that in a dementia-friendly community, when you're going to have your hair cut done, you talk about what dementia is, what the symptoms are, how these people are affected, so that people in their everyday lives start to understand what this is about. Tesco's becomes a dementia-friendly employer, so that they have a direct telephone number, so that if that individual walks out with something, instead of calling the police, they call the family member or the carer who says, oh, that's fine, give me the tab, we'll pay for it later, it's fine, it's okay. So we deal with it in a different way. How does that translate into this? Well, I think what that means is that if we were to have mental health friendly communities or diabetes friendly communities, maybe this is where, Ros, you could come in, what would that look like? How would we support something like that? And so, and there might be some learning from the dementia-friendly work that could translate into some. But I'm thinking outside. All I'm thinking is what I'm hearing is kind of similar to dementia-friendly communities. But I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
Hundreds. Just like, first of all, can I just say that was amazing. It was really touching, I think, and fantastic. You're doing an amazing job, and really needed in all sorts of communities. My mum has type 2 diabetes and really struggles with it and has had no help at all. And has other conditions and can't see either, and would have really benefited from sort of being alongside somebody like you. So
Yeah, because my dad was like that. He actually loses eyesight, and then all my family history is full of diabetes. All my dad's side, my mother-in-law, my husband, he was 26 years old when he got diabetes. So. And when I got in pregnancy, I thought, that's it, I'm living with it now. So luckily I controlled it, and I'm still controlling it since 2007. And not tablets, nothing. And
it's a really I have type 1 diabetes, so it's different, but it's
different,
both
yeah.
of them are very complex conditions to self-manage, I think, as are others. And the education is key to all of that, isn't it? The information and also the access to other people who are experiencing the same thing. And I access my community online because they're quite active online.
Yeah.
And I can think of at least 10 occasions when I've gone online and people have helped me self-manage, whether it's I've lost my insulin, I don't know what to do, I've left it on a train, or all sorts of things, and they've really helped me learning about pumps, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually, I see the consultant once a year for 15 minutes. They don't help me very much at all. They provide, they were really good in the first place. I get my insulin and I can go there when I need a medical sort of opinion, if you like. But generally, most of my time I spend in my community, and it's my support network that helps me. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. And in terms of the sort of this thing that we keep going back to around evidence, is I struggle with it. Sort of, on the one side, I know that the world of the NHS and all the rest of it, and commissioning and everything, requires evidence, and yet it funds all sorts of things that aren't evidence-based, and it puts a lot of money down those routes, if you like. So it is, and the other thing is that who collects the evidence, who decides what evidence and what research we're going to do, all the stuff Janet talked about earlier, it's biased anyway. So I struggle with this thing about trying to capture the value of community when, and there is evidence around community, there already is. There's lots of stuff around peer support now, isn't there, particularly, and it's still not working. So I just don't know about that, like capturing value of community. However, I think there's some quite good stuff going on in this city which is starting to get at that. So, for example, a very simple thing that you can do is when groups are meeting, in the first instance, to ask the question about how are you feeling, and capture that, get people to capture that themselves on post-it notes and stick that up. The next time the group meets, do it again, and so on. Take the picture, and you've got a then you have a sort of a track in history, and then you can start, or clever people like Janet can start taking that information, and they can sort of turn that into evidence and categorise it and understand the different things that are coming up there and track the progress. So there are really simple community techniques that you can use to manage that could then feed into the evidence base. I'm sure, Johnny, you probably can also many
people in this room are already doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's
there,
about it's already there.
And also this starting with who wants the evidence first. So what we're trying to say to people is, what do you need to know about your own group before your evidence goes anywhere else? And so people who are running groups like Noor are saying, this is through the community well-being program, are saying, this is what I'd like to know about my own contact with clients or my own group. And then they're coming up with ideas like you suggested. And those clever people are working out how to analyze it too. And so now we're at the point where it's about how do we take all those good ideas and reach some agreement that everybody will use a similar approach, because we need to put the evidence together from many different places, not just one.
Do you know who I think needs the evidence as well? It's not necessarily the system, because Yeah, I think it's more about people in communities need
We're
the
starting
evidence.
with
How
the
do you like
clients.
develop evidence of people so that
Yeah.
they think, oh, that will actually make a difference. I'll never forget.
Martin, down to come.
Yeah, just a quick thing about a couple of resources. My last few years at DH, I was allowed to do a hobby about social capital. And as part of that, we worked with Professor Martin Knapp at London School of Economics. We said, we've got no money, Martin. We're going to need to persuade some people how to do it. And so there's a few things. He's got an approach called decision modelling, which is, I wouldn't even attempt to describe it, but doesn't cost you very much money, and sometimes you can make a persuasive case. And so he's made a case for time banking, community navigators, etc. with that. On the Think Love Like Personal Building Community Capacity part of their website, there's an evidence and knowledge piece. So there's a report there which pulls together lots of evidence about community-based approaches, and there's a thing called Does It Work? Lowest cost ways in which community initiatives can evaluate what they do in a persuasive way. So it's Think Local Like Personal, Building Community Capacity.
I think you can measure anything, and certainly what you're providing can be measured. However, I wouldn't even go down that model. What I would be doing is empowering yourself and telling you what you are doing. I would be trying to nourish and flourish and just spread that word and encourage more people like yourself to get involved. There's too much emphasis on measurement, so just get on with it. Let's just do it.
Good job, Nike.
There is one other thing, and that is bring other people along with you.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, there'll be people in the community who are just as frightened as you were.
I have basically before in the Where is the Beauty, it was just me, and it's now at the moment like 5-6 women with me.
Wow.
So it's not I'm not alone now. So it's a full team who's with me in the beauty. Trips at the moment myself, because there's a lot of investment and people do scared. If they're going to get it back or not, to hire the full coach. And another other one is Monkey Business. We have to hire the full play center. So that's quite costly as well. So I just put this, I just say, okay, that's fine. If it's happened, it's happened. If it's not, and it's this one, we're gonna do it on 26th, and I think it's 7th or 8th event, Monkey Business event in past 1.5 year.
A week before the event, you just get, can I book
phone
10
call
tickets for Monkey Business? And you just
they're so phone call. As soon as I entered the ship, I said, no,
I spent half a day answering the phone, taking bookings for Monkey Business.
I think one of the things that comes out of it is that you might have a group of health champions, and the health champions program has been starting for, I think it's been about 4 or 5 years now, but ShipShip's been around in the community for around 10 years this year, so you've already built that connection, that trust, which is the key. And what we find, you can get one health champion coming in and actually having a journey like Road has, and then you get other people within the community, and it could be neighbours, it could be the people that are sort of coming into communication with the health champion that is already involved, but actually seeing a difference within that individual sort of motivates them to say, well, I could do that, I could benefit from that, and that, I think that's a key thing, and I don't know how you would measure that, but for me, I think a lot of it is about come out and listen to these stories, because that's where the difference is, and that's what shows that journey of that individual to say, well, actually, for money you're getting more than the amount of money that is actually being put into these projects, to say, well, actually, this is what you're funding, but you're getting so much out of it in return.
No, sorry.
Just on how you measure it, it's the GP's time. So you look at the individuals that are coming to these camps or social engagements, and then you look at the impact that it has on the GP's time. Are those patients recurring? Are they coming back? And you can work out a figure. You do a cost on it. It's not a complicated model.
I'm drawing this session to a close, but again, another fantastic session. Thanks, guys. It's wonderful to see people like Noor with enough confidence to lead this now, to be making massive health differences. And Chris and Tanya, you're doing a fantastic job to enable these environments and Simon to make it happen. You know, it's happening, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. How we measure it and capture it and make sure that people that fund it understand this is another challenge to sort of it, but I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it.